Alright, so this video is an act of rebellion. You see, my friends, we're talking about challenges and stuff. I was thinking, well, why don't we bike from Toronto to Niagara Falls? Why don't I bike from Toronto to Vancouver? And they were like, you can't do that. That's impossible. You need training, you need to do all this other stuff. Like, there's no way you'd be able to finish this. This is game over. Just do something easier. And I was like, hold up. What do you mean I can't do that? Nobody tells me what I can't do. Of course I can go do that. So today's challenge is the bike ride from Toronto to Niagara Falls. Alright, so I'm actually doing this out of spite because I absolutely despise Niagara Falls. Alright, so right now we are here at the Distillery District and we are going to be doing the second one challenge in the 100 series challenge. We're starting here. This is downtown Toronto and we'll be biking our bikes all the way down to Niagara Falls. And when I say we are, it really means I am. Venus is just coming with me for the first stretch until we get to the outskirts of Toronto. So I didn't film the entire journey from Toronto to Niagara Falls, but let's first talk about the bike. This is the bike that I'm going to be using to get from Toronto to Niagara Falls. It's a hybrid bike, which means it's a mixture between a mountain bike and a road bike. It's particularly not the type of bike that you want to use in a long distance ride, simply because it's one, slower, and two, you're going to be sitting in the upright position for very, very long periods of time. In fact, because you're in the upright position, you're kind of this huge air brake as opposed to the more aerodynamic bikes. A lot of little things that go on with the bike. For example, the gears. If I go into any one of the climbing gears on this bike, the gears will just shift right into the spokes of the wheel here. Now, given that there is a little bit of wear and tear on the bike, I have upgraded a couple things on this bike. You see, these handles here used to be made out of plastic. I've upgraded them with some rubberized, nice materials to have a much more comfortable ride. The pedals here used to be these rubberized plasticky things, and I've upgraded them to metal. And because they're metal, they have these little spikes, which lets me have a little bit of grip on my shoes when I'm pedaling. Next up, we also have this rear rack. Now, I didn't realize how much of an upgrade I needed this before Venus bought it for me as a present the day before race day. I was planning to put everything in my backpack. This has been a godsend because I was able to put food and a whole bunch of different stuff on top of this rear rack. All right, so that's the bike. Let's talk about other things now. Now, the route is actually a very simple one, and you can divide this whole trip into 4 different parts. The first part being Toronto. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah, just gonna put stuff away, all right? Okay, let's go. Bye. All right, stage 1, downtown Toronto, along the lakeshore, tons of fun, highly recommended, and it's 20 kilometers of just pure bliss. Now this year, Toronto had decided to close down some streets in order to increase the social distancing area for cyclists in major parts of the city, including the route that goes down to Niagara Falls. We're now officially out of downtown Toronto. Okay, first up, we're at the BB Cafe, which is the first stop right after the Humber Bay Bridge. Ooh, egg sandwich. So are you continuing with me all the way down to the end of the path, or are you gonna go home from here?
I think I'm gonna go home from here.
Ah, very good. Okay, very good. See you later, okay? I'll see you tonight. It's
Okay.
only 6 hours.
Bye.
Okay, bye. And without Venus coming along with my ride, this is where we stop filming. So it's at this point where I should lay out all the objectives for today's challenge. And at the time when I was filming this, I had severely underestimated my task for the day. Let's talk about the objectives. Number 1, I had to get to Niagara Falls. That's from Distillery District, downtown Toronto to Niagara Falls, 170 kilometers. Objective 2, I had to do it within a time limit. So it was a time trial. We had to get there before 9:30 p.m. because there's no way I was gonna go sleep over at Niagara Falls during a pandemic. There is so many people here. It's like pandemic. I should be wearing a mask. Objective 3, I was also carrying 50 to 60 extra pounds of camera equipment on my back as well as mounted on the bike. And number 4, I had the expectation I was going to film myself for this video. Now, given that I've actually completed the actual ride, I'm going to give you tips and tricks that you should know before attempting to do the waterfront trail to Niagara Falls. So let's talk about stage 2. All right, so we're hitting the city limits of Toronto. We're heading off to Burlington, and fair warning, there's absolutely nothing to look forward to in this region. If you can stock up on water, I'd highly recommend to stock up on water, because beyond this gap, there are no more stations to like refuel water, get food or anything. So try to get all that stuff before you leave Burlington. Other notes, you know, in the title of the trail, it's called the Waterfront Trail. It's not exactly along the waterfront. In fact, the Waterfront Trail is really just a recommended route that has potentially bike lanes on it and potentially not. So it's not a particularly nice ride. You want to speed through this as fast as possible. So, you know, get to it. You're going to be biking enough roads like this for a while. It's not very fun. Ugh. Now, if this is the first time you're riding your bike through Canada, this is one of the worst routes you can take, because around Lake Ontario, it's called the Golden Horseshoe. It's all developed lands, all industry or residential. There's no trails, no forest, no nothing. And it goes on everything between Toronto to the United States. So if you went in any other direction, there'd be nature, there'd be trails, there'd be tons of fun. Not this route. And that's a fair warning. Then you're gonna reach this canal, which is kind of like the halfway separating point for this entire ride. Sometimes you might get stuck there for an hour because boats are passing through. It is what it is. Luckily for me, that didn't happen. But that's kind of the halfway point. So the next part 3, is Hamilton to wine country. And in Hamilton, there's this nice beach that just kind of goes on forever. So once you get past the canal bridge, you head into Hamilton's waterfront area, and it is lovely. It is like one of the highlights of the trip to Niagara Falls. The park is called Confederation Beach Park. It's a 10-kilometer trail that just goes along the waterfront, unimpeded. There's no like going through residential areas, whatever. It is a lovely beach. Highly recommend if you're in the area. So this is kind of hilarious. So I'm finally on like a super nice trail. It's called, well, it's Waterfront Trail, but it's by a beach. So we got speedboats and everything. It looks amazing. Can't fly the drone. We also have power lines. Those things kill drones. And then once you get beyond that, you hit the wineries. And this is what you need to prepare for. Honestly, the Waterfront Trail is a lot of this. I'm not enjoying it as much, actually. I'm glad I'm doing it. It's just, this is not really what I expected. I don't know what I expected something nice. On that day, it was roughly about 40 degrees Celsius in the Ontario region, and that's abnormally hot for this climate here. When I was entering winery region, I just found that there was no shade to hide from the sun anywhere, nowhere to take rest, and the only thing that I could do was wear UV protected clothing. This was a Uniqlo sweater that I bought that's specifically designed for UV protection. It makes you feel like you're in shade, but it's also like the same material that cyclists use when you know, they're wearing that pro uniform thing. So I highly recommend bringing UV protection clothing. Now you might be thinking, why don't I just bring sunscreen with me? The reason why you can't use sunscreen is because sunscreen doesn't work when you are sweating. In fact, all it does is it becomes a big goopy mess on your body, and then you just have everything's just messy everywhere. It's very unpleasant. So highly recommend bringing UV protected clothing because it's ideal for that whole. It took me like 3-4 hours to get out of winery region. That bike ride was insane. It was like brutal. Blindly following Google Maps for the last 6 hours, but oh yeah, I had to put on the sweater because I was just burning up from the sun. So this is it. This is the straight shoot to Niagara Falls. So let's move on to stage 4, the Niagara escarpment. So after cycling 9 hours straight, I finally made it to the Niagara escarpment, and I was not prepared for the Niagara escarpment. When I got there, I did not consider how hilly the terrain was going to be. In some parts, I was going downhill at 60 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast for someone that wasn't wearing a helmet. So just saying, I'm pretty glad I didn't die there. But it is a super nice region to do cycling. You can get a pretty good workout in that region. And if I had a recommendation, if you didn't want to challenge yourself, you can take the train. Take the train straight to Niagara region, cycle there, and then take the train back, because that would be far more enjoyable in my opinion. That's all I really have to say about the Niagara escarpment, simply because the rest of Ontario is super flat in comparison to this region. So I can see why cyclists go there to train, because it's actually a lot of fun to just ride your bike in that area. So this is something that's probably not going to happen to you, but it did happen to me. You see, after biking 155 kilometers, I got to this place called Welland Canal, and Google Maps had directed me towards this tunnel, which was unfortunately blocked by construction. This is the only tunnel that goes across the river. I've been foiled. So the only way you can get across was by adding an additional 20 more kilometers onto your trip, going to another bridge or tunnel that's north of the one that was blocked. I strictly remember this road called Mountain Road, and it is a workout. It is a beast. So that's probably what you might have to take if this thing is still under construction, but hopefully that's cleared by the time you get there. And that's why I've been saying 170 kilometers as opposed to only 150, 160, because there's other roadblocks and things that happened when I was there. After that, it's Niagara Falls. So this is what happened when I was in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls. All right, let's go to the falls. We're almost out of time. We have to take the last train. Now, you might think it's really sad that I spent 13 hours cycling to Niagara Falls just to spend 5 minutes looking at the falls and going home, but I've done Niagara Falls many, many times before. If I could make one recommendation, it would be take the helicopters at Niagara Falls or the boat. They're both spectacular when you're up close. Don't waste any time with all the gimmicks around the falls. You know, this is what the falls look like. That's what it's like to ride a bike here to Niagara Falls. It's not a lot of fun. Honestly speaking, I would not do this again. All right, so getting home from Niagara Falls to Toronto. One, the Niagara Falls train station is like, I think it's a half an hour walk away or a 10-minute bike ride away from downtown Niagara Falls. There's two particular ways that you can get from Niagara Falls to Toronto. First is the train. It's a 2-hour trip. The train is relatively rare. I believe it's only on the weekends, and it comes very sparingly throughout the day. So I would, schedule your schedule accordingly to the train schedule if you plan to take that route. The more common route that most people take, which is harder for cyclists, is the bus. So the bus comes every hour in Niagara Falls, and it drops off everyone at Burlington GO Station, and you transfer from Burlington GO Station to Toronto Union Station via train. That takes 3 hours, but the kicker here is that the bus, it has only 2 bike racks on the front, and if there's a lot of cyclists that are coming on that bus, the first 2 people in line gets to put their bike on the front of the bike rack. Everyone else's bikes just get put into the luggage hold. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so tired. Let's just go home and sleep. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to watch another challenge I did earlier in the pandemic, I did 160K within a month. So that's the biking to Niagara video. Mission accomplished. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about biking to Niagara, feel free to leave a question below. I'll try my best to answer it the best I can. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. The next 2 videos are going to be revolving these 2 things. And please consider subscribing, because it definitely helps the channel out. Until next time, I guess I'll see you guys later, and peace. I think I need to have prizes at the end of each video. It's something that really motivates me, and I think one of them should be like a Captain America shield, because that would be cool. Be like, so cool. That's it. I'm gonna do that. Treat yourself.